much for watching or listening today. Today I have a very, very special guest. I've been excited to talk to this man for a long time. Ryan Bloor, professional strongman and bare-knuckle boxer. Not every day you hear those two things in the same sentence. Today we're going to be talking about Ryan's strongman career, his many achievements in that, including perhaps the most publicised being the UK's car deadlift champion. We're also going to be talking about his bare-knuckle fighting and glove boxing as well. He's got a few fights coming up with that. I certainly would not like to be on the receiving end of a strongman's punch, so we are going to be touching on that as well. We'll be getting into different aspects of Ryan's training, because obviously training to be a strongman is a whole lifestyle of its own, which I'm sure many are keen to know about. We're also going to be getting into the mental side of competition, which is something I feel is often overlooked, and quite a few other different aspects of Ryan's life. So forgive me talking about you in third person for a minute there, champ, but thank you very much for coming on. Like I was just saying, I appreciate you making the time for it, mate. So big thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So starting at the beginning, I mean, we've got a lot of cool things to talk about today. Obviously your strongman achievements, your fighting achievements, achievements yet to come. There's a whole lot of things. But I want to touch on, like I was saying just now, touch on your life as it is now in 2021. Obviously, coming out of the pandemic, it's been a crazy time for many people. It's altered a lot of people's training regimes in different sports as well. So there's quite a bit there. So could you just give us a little walkthrough of what your life is like day to day, right now in 2021, what your training regime is like, and just a little bit of what you're aiming for, what you're working towards, be that in fights or in strongman, please?
Well, I've recently come back from a bad back injury, and I had the intentions of getting back into strongman. So I fixed the injury, started training back at the gym, enjoying it again, getting that love back for the sport. And then I've also been doing a bit of boxing. And then a friend of mine said to me, would you like to take a shot at the Midlands title? The heavyweight title. So obviously straight away I've said yeah, and now I've got to gear my training towards the fight now. So
brilliant. Well, yeah, fantastic opportunity, and like I was just saying, the fight opportunities are bound to open up quite a bit. Now obviously I'd like to walk through quite a few aspects of your strongman training, and we will get to the fights as well. But I want to go back in time a little bit and talk about motivation here, because I think it's quite valuable for people watching this or listening to it, in terms of what actually initially inspired you to actually be a strongman. Because like I was saying before, it's a whole lifestyle. It's crazy dedication, the amount you guys eat and train, and it's on another level. So in the beginning, who or what actually inspired you to start that journey?
well, to be honest, when I was growing up, I was about at 16, I was about 8 stone. I was always like the smallest in school, so my dad got me into weight training, and I started weight training. I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but I didn't really plan to get there. So I was just carrying on training with the weights all through my 20s, and then as luck happened, I was on Facebook one day, and a guy I had on there, Mark Hill, he posted a picture of deadlifting in a competition, and I think it was about 240 on the bar. So I wrote to him, I said, oh, that's impressive. I said, I lift that in the gym. How many reps did you do? And he said, 1. How many can you do? And I think it's something like 5. And he said to me, and I think he said this obviously as a bit of a piss take, he said, I'd like to see you come down and do better than in a competition. He says, there's one next week. So I said, yeah, okay then. And he said, I'll pick you up and I'll take you to the comp. I said, yeah, okay then. I don't know whether or not he expected it to go that way. I think it was more like, testing me. So as luck happened, I went to him and we went to the competition together. We travelled down there, and I'd never done any of the events. There was the stones, the yoke, axle lift. I did the competition. It was absolutely brutal, and I finished 4th in my first competition. So I was like, this is for me, So after that, I went back to the gym, and just started carrying on training then, and on to the next strongman comps. That's where it started.
Yeah. Amazing. It is an incredible story because, like I say, the dedication. I mean, I got insane respect for that. I mean, across all sports, but I mean, what you guys are doing is, altering your bodies the way you are. It's incredible. And we will get into that in a minute because I do want to touch on the specifics of your training regime. Before we get to that, though, there's one other thing I wanted to touch on here. Now, I saw a Facebook post recently that you put up, and by the way, for any of our viewers who don't follow Ryan, go and find him on Facebook. By the way, I know you're very open, very accessible to talk to. But I saw a post on there, and this was to do with the fighting, but it might relate to the strongman as well, saying that you've survived stabbings, gang beatings, that you've been attacked with a baseball bat, you've been attacked with a hammer. And it's
Yeah.
definitely something you don't read every day, I mean, I know quite a few lads who've had maybe one of those, but like you put all of them together, one guy, and it's like bloody hell. So I was sort of curious as to if that was something that influenced your strongman career, or if that was something that came later, if that makes sense in terms of the time scale.
To be fair, I think it was just my background when I was growing up. It was rough and very much living day to day, and I think it built a kind of resilience and a toughness in me. And I think as soon as I got into strongman, then I saw it as an avenue where I could excel and I could use my past experiences and I could push it. I knew that I could push my body further. And I think that's what it was for me. The more strongman comps I did and the more I pushed, the more I started to become more dedicated and just pushing it that little bit further, how far the human body can go. And and I think the stuff that I've been through has definitely helped because I've been close to death, so when you've had that kind of thing, you've sort of got an edge over people who haven't had that experience.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's where I was curious to go with it, is if that's influenced your mentality, which it obviously has, because
Definitely, I would say it has.
Yeah, it does seem to, because it's not to dwell on a negative situation, but it also shows other people watching this, if they've been through similar experiences, how they can use them on a positive level instead of it being, obviously it's a horrible thing to happen, but how they can take something good from it, So I ask a lot of questions like that, inspiration.
Definitely.
People, Yeah.
Definitely. It's all about taking your negative experiences and turning it and making it work for you. You've only got this one life, haven't you? This one thing as you are now. So all your experiences, you can use them for to do something positive, or you can just give up. But you've been through all these things, so you may as well use them to your advantage. It's there's always good in every situation.
Yeah.
You just got to look for it.
You have got to look for it, yeah, and that's really good inspiration for people. Now, obviously, a fairly obvious question here, but I do want to get into this aspect of it, is your training regime for strongman. Now, we will get into that with the boxing as well, because from what I've seen of your boxing, you're showing very good boxing ability, movement, and everything. So we'll get into that separately. But first, with the strongman side of things, I try and get in questions here for people who know about it and people who don't, if you get what I mean. So people who are crazy into fitness, and some questions specific for them, but some questions for people who don't have a clue, and the world of strongman is more of a mystery, if you like. I'm trying to cover both. So for the people who it's more of a mystery for them, who don't know about it, can you walk us through, like, on a daily level, your diet and your training regime, just some of the basics really of what you do to get to the size and the strength that you're at?
It's basically, I think you've got to be eating within the ballpark of 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. If you want to make real progress and recover from the workouts, that's where you've got to be at. It took me a while to realise that. And that doesn't matter whether you're a lighter strongman or a heavier strongman. You've got to get them calories in, and you've got to recover from each session. But as regards to the training, it's all very specific, So if you had a deadlift event, obviously you would have to practice deadlifts. If it was yoke, you would practice the yoke. A lot of the mistakes I made in strongman in my big comps was I wouldn't practice the event because I just enjoyed training at the gym I trained. It didn't have strongman implements, but I always did deadlifts. So when a deadlift competition came along and I entered it, I was really ready for that. You know, I didn't even have to prepare because I was always deadlifting. And it's funny because the car that I lifted was 300 kilos. Now, about a month before we did the competition, I had 460 kilograms on the bar from below my knee, and I lifted it. And I remember thinking at the time, if I can do that, I wonder how many I could do with 300 key. You know, so
Yeah.
it's always just about pushing yourself harder in training, so it's easier in competition.
Very much.
But that didn't really happen. And the reality of it's far different though, because by the time you get to the competition, it's always hell. You know, it's always brutal. But and you think when you're there, you think I don't know why I'm here. But then that's when the drive kicks in, then the discipline, and it's about who wants you the most then. And with me, with regards to the UK's deadlift, I was prepared to die that day. So I don't know if anyone else was, and I believe that's why I won.
Incredible. Now, obviously, I know there's quite a few competitions that you've entered, been a part of, and won, and all different things. And it's interesting that the car deadlift one got a lot of publicity. You know, I mean, probably more than the others. I mean, that was I remember. I remember at the time that was just everywhere. So, with that in mind, can you just describe for anyone who doesn't know the day itself in terms of what it was like? Because I've seen the videos and the photos of obviously it being outdoors, and there was a good crowd there, and it looked like a great atmosphere. But for anyone that hasn't seen that, can you just sort of talk us through the day itself and how it went for you with that one specifically, just as one of your most well known?
Well, like I said, I didn't really have much preparation for the competition itself. Saw the comp on Facebook. Now, initially, it was supposed to be an under 105 category and an opens category. And so with that in mind, I thought, great. I thought I'll weigh under 105, give myself a better chance, and I'll go to the competition. So I get to the competition on the day, and I'm the only under 105 guy there. So the guy turns around to me and says, I'm sorry, mate. He says, we've decided not to have the under 105 category. You're all going to go in it together as it opens, all weights. He says, we're just going to go for it. So I'm standing there and I'm like, right, okay, this is what's happening. And as I'm looking around, I look at Sean Logan turns up, 26 stone he is. Marius Pilinski turns up, again, about 23 stone. I think he's got like a 25-inch neck. I was about 17 stone at the time. So straight away, this defeatist attitude hit me, and I thought, shit. I thought, I'm going to lose here. And then as I'm standing there thinking this other thought immediately came into my head, and I thought, well, if I beat these today, right here, right now, I've got them all here. I've got all these big names right here, and that means I've beat them all on that day. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. We can all do it today. And that was it then. My mindset changed, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. No matter what, I'm going to win today. And the first round, when the first round started, I did 29 reps, and Sean Logan did 28. And from there, then, that first lead, we went into different rounds, and eventually I did 70 reps. Sean Logan did 69, and John Ford did 68. That's how close it was in the end. And yeah, I never felt pain like it. I thought I was going to die multiple times, but yeah, I did. Well, you know, in the end, I won.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, it's incredible to hear the aspects of it that you don't see from the outside looking in, if that makes sense. So you watch it and it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. But then there's all the things that go on behind the scenes, and the fans don't see that. So it gives us a really good insight into what it was actually like. Now, you touched on something there that's really interesting that I think is overlooked quite a bit, which is obviously the mental side of competition. Now, I remember I met Big Z once, who's obviously one of the world's strongest man. He's won a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And I asked him, I said, what is the most important mental aspect? Because we were all in this gym. I was doing the photos for it, and just one example. And people were asking him about the reps and about this and about that, and it was all great. But I said, what was the most important mental aspect? He said, visualization, and it's a great answer. But for you personally, I mean, what do you do to mentally prepare for a competition? Because there's a strong mental toughness aspect to all of this as well. And I think a lot of people just skip over that. They don't even think of it. So on the run up, how do you sort of stay in a sort of positive mindset or get ready for action, for a competition?
I think with me, I think it's a little tiny bit different. I think I'm sort of, I'm calm, and then once I get there and the reality of the situation hits me, that's when I sort of kick in.
Yeah.
It's sort of that's when I go. Then that's how it was for me. That's how I found it in strongman, and I found that the same in fighting. So I suddenly become very much in the moment, and I'm like, right, this is it now. And then the adrenaline kicks, and then it goes from there. But yeah, I'd say I'm quite calm leading up to things. In strongman, like I said, I never did much preparation, but once I switched over to bare-knuckle and I did the fighting, the preparation was everything for me. So
Yeah, very much. Fantastic. Now, obviously, with your strongman career so far, and we will get to the boxing as well, I promise. But there's so much with the strongman. But with
yeah,
that in mind, I mean, so far, I'm going to ask about your proudest moments. Now, I understand that obviously with your strongman, I believe that there's a lot of great competition left in you, and the best is yet to come. I mean, I believe that. But obviously, looking back on your career so far, though, what moment stands out for you? I mean, it may well be the car deadlifting or whatever, but I never assume, and I've asked a lot of champions this, and often they give you a different answer than what you expect. So, in your own words, your proudest moment, is it the car deadlift, or is it like another competition, or?
That is my proudest moment. But I think a moment when I realised that I'd really got something with the deadlift was probably at Birmingham Strongest Man in 2016, and it was 240 kilograms on the bar, and I did 15 reps with it, and the closest that someone got to me was 10. I finished sixth in the competition, so I didn't do great. But with the deadlift, I knew then that's when it stood out, and I thought I've got something here. I thought there's just a real standout lift for me. So yeah, I think that was a proud moment as well. I thought that was when I started really believing, and I knew that if I dialed certain things in, I could achieve. But I think like that now. I still think like that with strongman. I'll go back to strongman, and I still believe I can win UK Strongest Man under 105. I think it's all just a matter of preparing, making sure everything's dialed in, and yeah, that's it. I can win.
You can win, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. Now, that's another thing, funny enough, I wanted to touch on here, is obviously your idols, basically, people that inspire you. Because one of the things I think is really cool about you, mate, is you inspire others. I mean, you actually take the time to inspire others, and you put some of these posts up about what you've overcome and things like that. But in terms of people that inspire you, Eddie Hall has been talked about and been linked with you. You want to be like a lighter version of him, and that's been the headline with a few articles I've seen or whatever when I was.
Yeah.
But is he your main inspiration, or are there other people that sort of really motivate you to succeed, if that makes sense?
I mean, I think it's hard not to respect and be inspired by Eddie, the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
He's the world's strongest man, and but I think in strongman, I think my main idols when I started watching it was people like Mariusz Pudzianowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sven Carlson, some of the older strongman, John Paul Sigmarsson, things like that. Where they were lean, they look like bodybuilders, basically. Yeah, I liked their intensity.
Very much. That's cool. Yeah, it's just to give them a mention because I mean, everyone deserves respect who's having a go at this because it is a tough sport. But I just wanted to highlight certain people who stand out to you. Now, another thing with this is you mentioned earlier about the pain involved. Now, even though there's a lot of glory involved, there's pain involved as well. Now, are there competitions that stand out to you that you've been in that stand out as being tougher than others, or are they all sort of on the same wavelength, if that makes sense? Because this is one that I'm trying to get to the things that the fans don't see, you see, because obviously by watching the competition, you can't tell because you sort of make it look easy in a way, and I know it's not easy by any means, but because you've been training and because you've been doing this sort of thing, you can't always see what people are going through on the inside with strongman, with yourself personally or with others. But is there one competition that stand out as being more brutal or being the toughest competition that you've been in, or maybe
Just like I said, probably the Birmingham's. I didn't practice the tire flip, and then I had to flip a 350 key tire 8 times, and I literally thought I was going to have an heart attack. So yeah, that was particularly brutal. and my first competition, because it's like I turned up, didn't know what to expect, and it was like, wow, you know, the pain and the thing, you know, like it's like you said, you know, you see it on TV, you watch it, and you think, oh, you know, look at that, and then when you try it, it's just totally different. The pain is just like on another level, you know. And the next day, you feel like you've been beat up with hammers and baseball bats, you know. So.
Yeah, which you have, so you actually know what that
Which,
feels.
which is funny because I actually have, so I can relate to it. But yeah,
Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, most people say like a figure of speech like that, like, oh, I feel like I've been hit, you know, and or I train or something, and it's just a figure of speech, but you've actually been there, done it, so you know how it feels.
yeah.
But that is that. Just, I mean, I have to ask with that though, and this isn't even part of my notes. This is just off the cuff. But when you were attacked by like serious weapons like that, like particularly the hammer, things like that, I mean, what did you actually take you a long time to recover? I mean, were you like badly injured in that particular one, or I mean, because I've heard of hammer attacks and people are just left paralyzed, or you know, they're never the
Yeah.
same. Like you know, when you're walking around. So I don't know how much you can
Well,
say about it.
I was
Yeah.
only 15 when that happened. I got it in the kneecaps and in the back of my head,
Yeah.
and it was bad. I think the mental aspect of it was the most. I think like shock, what they call
Yeah.
shock. It was just yeah, very traumatizing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I think it definitely. I remember, you know, months after it lit a fire. It lit a fire in me. You know, I was only 15. I thought, you know what, I'm going to be big. I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to make sure nothing like this ever happens again.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
like you
So
said, it's taking something from it.
yeah, you've got to, even with traumatic experiences. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, it's something you don't hear every day for sure, but it's good you've come through it okay and turned it around. Now, obviously, we'll get to the boxing now, but another thing I like to touch on is I love to give inspiration, hope, you know, meaningful content, whatever you want to call it, to young athletes, and I do get quite a lot of young athletes that watch my stuff, and by that I mean that they're just starting out. They're just, even if it's an older age, and they're just getting into sport, just getting into competition, be it strongman, be it boxing, be it anything. Now, I'd like to talk about this as like advice that you would have for young uh, people who want to be like maybe in strongman, they're just entering their first competition, or they're just maybe even younger than that. Maybe they're just thinking about, you know, maybe I could do something with this, and they're quite strong in the gym. What would be a little, I don't know, like 2 or 3 pieces of advice, you know, that you'd give them that would be like, and there's probably a lot more than that you could give, but if there was like 2 or 3 essentials, if you get where I'm coming from, what would they be?
Well, yeah, I think people just starting out. I suppose it'd be me talking to my younger self. I would say, with regards to strongman, I would say actually train for the events that are upcoming, prepare, um, and just you know, stay in your own, stay away from negativity. You know, if you've got something good, not everyone's going to be happy for you. You know, so you got to protect your own little goal, and you've got to just, you know, keep your head down and believe in yourself. You know, because not everybody's going to be happy for you. You know, you got to protect your dreams, you got to protect your goals, and work at them.
Yeah. Good advice. It is really good advice. And like I said before, I mean, I know obviously the best is yet to come, I believe, for yourself, but at the same time, you've accomplished a lot. So, you know,
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
that element of giving back, you know, and giving advice, because there'll be lessons you've learned the right way and lessons you've learned the hard way. And obviously, you know, sharing those to people who are just starting out is a good thing. So that's brilliant. Now, we'll get to the boxing now. So one of the last things about the strongman is obviously your goals. Now, you touched upon, um, like I say, chasing Eddie Hall, and you know, chasing basically his titles, a lighter version, as you said. But is that your main goal that you're focused on at the moment with Strongman, or what sort of competitions are you aiming for? What's really driving you in that aspect now? Because I know you've got the boxing coming up as well. But you said about this fire burning inside you, so I just want to hone in on that. Of like the main dream. Is that pretty
I
much
think
it?
the main dream of strongman is to come back and either do the under 105 and win
Mhm.
that, or there's been a new category which started just this year. It's just gone, and that's the under 120 kilogram category. So
Yeah.
my aim, if I went back to strongman, is to dominate either one of those categories
Mhm.
and win. You know, I want to be UK's strongest man under 105 or under 120. You know, I want that at least. You know, that's good. That's a matter of not if it happens, it's when it happens. So it's going to be one of them.
Brilliant. I love the mindset. I love the positive mindset. Yeah, it's not if, it's when. That's powerful. That takes people a long way. So good stuff. Now, the other thing with strongman is obviously is time as well, because one of the other things that interests me is you guys training all different times of the day, obviously depending on the competition. You're eating like crazy. I mean, you probably like my body weight for breakfast. Things like that. I mean, you're just eating insane amounts of food and all this sort of stuff. So how do you juggle that around family, friends, around work, because I know you were working in security at one point. I'm not sure if you still are, but just around life in general. I mean, how do you sort of maintain the time management? Because that's a huge aspect as well of what you do.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Especially with relationships and stuff, and having to eat at certain times. I think it just becomes a habit. Once something's become a habit, you just find a way. But yeah, obviously it isn't the normalest thing in the world having eat every 2 to 3 hours and forcing these calories down. But I think if you have someone supportive, and they understand the journey, then they accept it. So
Yeah, very much. I mean, I think
I
a
mean,
lot of
it's a necessity. I mean, some sports you go to and I don't know, say golf. You go play a game of golf. You come home, you put your golf clubs away, and that's it. With strongman and probably with boxing as well. After you leave the gym, your job's now to eat, to recover. So it's a 24/7. It's a lifestyle.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a whole lifestyle, and that's the thing that interests me
yeah,
about it. Yeah, I think it's a big part of it's having positive people around you who really understand what you're aiming for, what you're doing, and sort of support that. And I'm a big believer in the people that we associate with in life is very important, because they do say you become the sum of
yeah,
the
you
people.
become you surround yourself with. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's
So yeah, I agree with that. I think you surround yourself with positive people, and if the people you with become negative, you're gonna have to walk alone for a while
mm, yeah, that's it.
until you
That's
find
absolutely.
positive people again. Because you're better off being alone than with negative people.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in that myself. You've got to have good people around you in more ways than one. So yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. But the time management aspect is good, and obviously there's tips there for other athletes as well. So obviously touching on the boxing side of things as well, we've got to touch on that. Now before we get to your upcoming fight, which we touched on earlier, obviously I've seen your bare knuckle fight against Keith Winterbourne as well. I've got to give a shout out to him, Keith. Respect, mate. But because anyone who gets in the ring, I think deserves that respect. But obviously,
Yeah,
you got him
definitely.
out of there quick. I mean, first round finish and all that. I watched the fight, and while it lasted, it was cracking, but it didn't last long, because you got him out of there. So, in terms of that, what was the initial inspiration for actually competing in fight sports, in bare knuckle specifically? What made you decide to go down that road, if you like?
Well, after I did my strongman, I came away from strongman, and to be fair, I felt a bit of disillusioned by it all,
Mm,
because it felt like the recognition wasn't there, at least
mm,
in that initial period. So I came away from it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I ended up. I was already training at T6 Fight Club, which is in Burslem, and I thought to myself, right, I'm going to train and do some boxing. And I sees this poster for a bare-knuckle. So straight away I thought, I'm going to fight on this bare-knuckle. If I'm going to do whatever it takes, I'm going to do. This is my goal. So I wrote it down straight away. Thought, right, fight on this bare-knuckle, fight this, and I basically then took all the things that I'd learned in strongman about my planning, eating, and I just transferred that over. And I ended up losing about 30 pounds of body fat. Got into the best shape of my life. 3 months training camp, absolute hell. To be honest, I don't think there's many people that would have stood in my way that night, because I was that ready. I had 3 months serious fight camp, and yeah.
Incredible, yeah, brilliant. And obviously, it was a heck of a knockout as well. I mean, when you watch the video, and again, for anyone watching this, that the videos on YouTube, Bad to the Bone, Ryan Bloor, Keith Winterbourne, great fight. Now, obviously, with that in mind, he was down for a while. I mean, he looked quite badly hurt. Now, with your punching power, I mean, being a strong man, it's got to be immense. I mean, your punching power's got to be you know, because you can translate obviously the strength you have, combine it with some speed, and you've got some, you know, Mike Tyson crazy knockout power. Like, so have you ever measured it or, you know, done anything like that with your punching power? Or
I haven't measured it on anything. Dave Morgan at T6, a good friend of mine, he used to hold the pads for me, and he says that my right hand was one of the hardest punches he's ever felt. So I can only go off that, really.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
And he's
But
fought some top fighters. You know, he's had professionals come through his gym. So yeah, I mean, my punch would definitely be up there. You know, with the best.
yeah, I agree definitely, and I know the other thing with that is obviously in terms of the training, the other aspects of the training, you showed some really good boxing ability there. You know, in terms of like the head movement, body movement, you know, all sorts of things. And you really good footwork. There was a lot of stuff, and obviously with that in mind, how are you finding adapting to all of that in general? I mean, I know you've been training with the boxing for a while, but how are you finding sort of getting comfortable with the game and, you know, sort of settling into it, if you get where I'm coming from? There's any aspects of that side of the training?
Well, it was hard because my entire body was made for lifting up until that point. So my flexibility I had to work on, balance, work on, even core strength. Although I had core strength from Strongman, I didn't have rotational core strength that you need for a punch, you know. So there was all these different things that had to change, and obviously losing the weight, getting super fit. I mean, people think you have to be fit when you do strongman, but fighting fit is a whole nother level of fitness. You know, it's you know, you have to be really, really fit for that. To be fair, I've got to do it all over again now because this fight camp, I've been doing a lot of weights recently, so I've got to do all these things again. Loosen up, get moving quick, lose a bit of weight. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. I mean, honestly, hats off to you on that one, because the, you know, the level of adaptation that takes is succeeding, you know, two different, like totally different sports in that sense. And they often sports that you wouldn't necessarily think that one translates to another, but obviously you crossed over very well. So just honestly, it's not even a question, but just hats off on that, because like learning a whole new skill set is a big thing, you
Yeah.
know. And I know obviously with fighting, from the sound of when you were growing up, there were probably a few on the street and everything. So you probably had, you obviously got the fighting mentality and everything. But to, you know, loosen up physically and get that aspect in, it's good stuff. It's, you know, obviously
Yeah.
with that, you've got this fight coming up, and we touched on that at the beginning. I'd like to go a little bit more into it, just for our audience who may not know about that, or some of them might have seen it. But yeah, Midlands title, heavyweight title, you've got that coming up. Short notice fight, you were telling me just
Yeah.
before we started recording. Walk us through how your camp's going, you know, how you're anticipating the fight going. Anything that you'd like to share about that fight and the process really on the build up to it.
I don't want to share too much about it. I want to keep it quite secret how I train for that.
Sure.
But like I said, I'm going to be getting loose, getting ready, getting fit again, and yeah, and I expect that bout to be above my TV. So
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously, for anyone who wants to watch the fight or come support you or anything like that, now bear in mind for our audience, this can change because the fight game. But as it stands at the moment, at the time of this interview, how can people support you if they want to get involved in that fight, if they want to come and see it, or I don't know if it's being streamed or what the situation is with.
it's through the actual fight event itself is called Brawl in the Hall. It's £25 a ticket. I think maybe £50 for the table. But there's a link on my Facebook anyway where you can buy it from. I don't think the tickets are available right now, but they will be soon. So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in Stoke. It's in
Okay.
Stoke, obviously. That's where I'm from, as you can see. Stoke-on-Trent, the Potteries.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Yeah. It's good to give you the mention because obviously I know you're on the build up to that, so you want to get as much support in as you can. So I just wanted to give that a quick
Yeah,
shout
yeah.
out. And obviously things change in the fight game, but fingers crossed that'll all stick together. And I thoroughly believe you'll win it and support you all the way. But good stuff. So we talked about the boxing. Now obviously with that's a gloved bout as far as I know. In terms of the bare knuckle side of things, are you planning to have more fights with that? Maybe in the future, you plan to do more with any of those companies, Band to the Bone or BFBA or anything like that, or are you going to transition more into the gloved side of things now? What do you think of the
I
avenues
think,
open?
to be honest, something that's been drawing me in is the bare knuckle, but the bare knuckle and the bales,
Oh yeah.
which was through Christian Roberts, Sparta. I mean, that seems like something that would suit me. You know, it's more up close. It's how I like to fight as well, on the inside. So yeah, I think it'd suit me, and I can use my strength to my advantage. So yeah, something like that would sounds interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I know Kristen. I actually do some work for him as well with some media stuff and everything like that. And yeah, they're always cracking fights with that. And
Yeah,
definitely, I think that smaller pitch, it's like 8 foot by 8 foot or whatever. And because that was the thing, even with the Winterbourne fight. I mean, as soon as you sort of rushed in, close the distance with him, it was finished. And I definitely think, yeah, that style would suit you very, very well. I definitely think you could win titles with Spartan. To be fair,
yeah,
so. Good. All right then. Brilliant. So we've touched upon the future plans. We've touched upon quite a few aspects. Now, one of the things, just a little bit of a deeper aspect. There's only a few more questions now anyway, because we've got some good stuff here. Is as one of the last ones is obviously as a person, you've improved, physically. But what are some of the ways that fitness and being a strong man, being a boxer, and everything like that has improved you as a person in other ways? Because I like to touch on this because I've seen sports save people from everything from mental health issues, drug addiction, alcoholism. And I'm not saying you have any of that, so I'm not coming, but even people who are really shy and they have no confidence and they start lifting or they start boxing or something, they get loads of confidence and they come out their shell, whatever. So with the level of dedication that you've put in, and I know this is a deep one, so I hope you get like where I'm going with it. What are some of the ways you've noticed improvements in other areas of your life, and that side of things, if you get where I'm coming from with this?
yeah. I think yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I myself personally, I'm kind of an extreme person. I call myself an extremist. So if I wasn't doing strongman or I wasn't doing boxing, keeping active like that, I'd probably be drinking, doing things like that. I take things to extremes. So for me, it's helped my life by not going down those avenues, and coming away from those avenues as well. Because I've been down those avenues, and there's nothing for me down there. There's nothing positive. So
Mm,
it helps me by, this is something that I can put my nature into and actually live a successful life.
mm. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it is brilliant because, like I say, I've seen sports be such a sort of redeeming thing, and it doesn't even mean that people. I mean, I've obviously seen loads of guys, being locked up and all that, and they've turned their lives around. But it doesn't have to be as extreme as that. I mean, it can just be somebody who's on the sofa, they're eating shit, they're not living the right way, their mental health's going down because they're not looking after their body, whatever, and they start training, and it just, the turnaround is. I'd recommend it for everyone, and you don't have to be like a strong man, like a massive guy, but even just some regular gym work. I mean, the benefits are just, and obviously all the brain chemistry and the dopamine and all that side of things is
Yeah,
immense. So that's the
definitely.
reason for giving that a mention. Is that I don't think everyone realizes. I still don't think some people realize. So I put it in every interview, to get that across. But Champ, I mean, we've covered some good stuff here. I think, to be fair, I mean, we've gone nice and in depth into obviously both of your sporting careers. I definitely think the best is yet to come. And I say once again, anyone watching this, listening to this, keep an eye on Ryan with the strongman. Keep an eye on him with the fighting, be that bare-knuckle, gloved, or anything else, because I definitely think you can go all the way in both. I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really, because you've got like the skill set, you've got the mentality and the willpower for it and all that. So, I definitely think you can go all the way in both. So, the last thing for me to say really is obviously big thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming on. And yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. It's been good.
thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.